Part 55. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 541. Chapter 541. There is a loved one in everyone's heart. It's a bit strange that a person like Mu Xiaocheng would say such a thing, but then again, maybe it's not surprising at all. Everyone has a favorite person. It's just that Zhang Xiaoxiao saw Mu Xiaocheng's evil but not his good. People on opposite sides will always view each other as the most evil. Dad. The cheerful voice is as pure as supreme crystal. The immature girl turned the wheelchair around, and a doll-like little girl sat on it. A transparent tube was inserted into her nostrils and connected to the oxygen tank on the back of the wheelchair. Purple. Mu Xiaocheng's voice was filled with love for a moment. He bent down and kissed the top of her hair. This is Dr. Zhang, this is my baby daughter Ziluo. At this time, Mu Xiaocheng transformed into an out-and-out loving father. Zhang Xiaoxiao leaned forward and stretched out his hand. Ziluo, nice to see you. I'm very happy to see you, too. I've never seen a female doctor before. Every time I see him, he's either an old man with a white beard or a serious middle-aged uncle. Sister, you are so beautiful. The little girl Ziluo shook hands with Zhang Xiaoxiao politely. Her fingers were still so delicate that Zhang Xiaoxiao held them carefully. Muofeng said that Ziluo was already 12 years old, but her figure seemed to be only 6 years old, and her weight might not even be 25 kilograms. She is very, very thin, with fair and green skin. Her smart black eyes are like her father's. She has an angelic smile on her snow-white face, and her soft yellow hair is tied into a ponytail with a bow. You wild girl, don't be arrogant, this is Dr. Zhang. Mu Xiaocheng reprimanded Ziluo in a rare doting tone, but it was clear that there was no blame at all. Ziluo giggled when her father called her a wild girl. Then he faced Mu Xiaocheng's reproachful eyes with an innocent face, and then shrugged. I'm telling the truth. Dr. Zhang, you are so beautiful. If my father hadn't introduced you as a doctor, I would have thought you were one of my father's girlfriends. Hearing those words from his innocent daughter made him stare at her speechlessly. I disappoint you, but I'm not your father's woman. I'm just a doctor. Zhang Xiaoxiao pointed out. I know that you are different from those women who try hard to please me. They just want to marry my dad. But you are not. My dad dotes on me very much. No matter what I want, he will get it for me. So I try to limit my requests, otherwise he will be too busy to do anything else. Her childish innocence and trust are mixed with a shrewdness beyond her years. Physical illness forced her to learn to introspect earlier than the average young person. Before he recovers, I will show you my room. She turned the wheelchair neatly. Zhang Xiaoxiao followed the wheelchair around the room. A middle-aged woman came forward with a smile on her face. She was introduced as Ziluo's nurse Aunt Pei. Her bedroom is connected to Ziluo's bedroom so that she can be taken care of at any time. Anything that might interest a little girl can be found in the room. Various books, videos, dolls, toys, and popular magazines were all displayed to Zhang Xiaoxiao one by one. Mu Xiaocheng kept following them. The feeling of not being needed made him confused and dazed. Ziluo even took out her makeup case to show Zhang Xiaoxiao, and Mu Xiaocheng coughed again. That's not a little girl's house wine. What's packed in the small silver suitcase is a full set of genuine brand name cosmetics. If I die, use this to put makeup on me. Dad, you have to promise me. Mu Xiaocheng's face suddenly lost all color. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoxiao truly felt sorry for their father and daughter. Don't talk nonsense. No, Dr. Zhang is here to treat you. You will be fine soon. But, just in case, promise me, Dad. I promise you. Mu Xiaocheng's voice was hoarse and unnatural. Ziluo reached out and patted his knee to comfort him. I hope I don't have to use it. Mu Xiaocheng lifted her from the wheelchair onto his lap and rested his cheek on her head silently. You won't need them until along, Long time before they expire. Finally he said. I know. But her eyes showed different thoughts. She looked a little tired. He touched her cheek. Would you like to lie down for a while? Put me on the chaise longue, she said. Aunt Pei came over to help push the wheelchair and oxygen tank so that Mu Xiaocheng could carry Ziluo to the recliner. He covered Ziluo's legs with a thin quilt, and Aunt Pei adjusted the pillow so that she could sit comfortably. Zhang Xiaoxiao took the initiative to check her by her side. She was not a fairy even with her eyes. All right. She leaned back against the pillows. This is the most comfortable way to watch a movie. She gave him a sly look. It's a literary romance film. Mu Xiaocheng has returned to his calm demeanor. You will make my hair turn gray with anger. He frowned deliberately. Literary romance film. There is also a scene in it, she added mischievously. Say no more. He raised his hands in a gesture of resistance. I don't want to listen, a father can only endure so much. Say goodbye to Dr. Zhang, and we won't bother you watching your romantic movies. Ziluo stretched out her hand. Goodbye, Dr. Zhang, it's been a lot of fun today. Will you come see me again? Of course. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled distressedly. It's really nice meeting you. Your dad is lucky to have you as his daughter. Ziluo looked up at her father, showing her precocious eyes again. Lucky me, she said. He kissed her, touched her little face, turned and left with a smile, but his hand holding Zhang Xiao's arm was so hard that he almost crushed her bones. After leaving his daughter's room, he said forcefully. Oh my God. He bent over, put his hands on his knees, and gasped for air. After a moment, he stood up straight and continued walking forward. Zhang Xiaoxiao could only follow him. When he arrived in the study, Mu Xiaocheng spoke again. Sometimes it's just too much for me. He said, his voice still a little hoarse. I'm sorry, I didn't expect her. I tried not to let her know how serious her condition was, but she's so smart. He did not finish his sentence. What disease does she have? Dr. Zhang, can't you see? Zhang Xiao paused for a moment. Are you going to start the exam? I can see that there are too many faults. Mu Xiaocheng pondered and turned the empty wine glass in his hand. She has a defective heart, only one kidney, and cystic fibrosis. The cystic fibrosis seems to be affecting her digestive system more than her lungs, otherwise she might have. He was speechless and swallowed several times before he spoke again. Although the new drugs were helping, she was still having trouble absorbing the nutrients she needed. She was eating regularly, but she wasn't growing or gaining weight. The growth only put a strain on her heart. A heart transplant was impossible because she had a sexual fibrosis. He gave a wry smile. Finding a suitable heart was almost impossible. Her body could only accept a heart from a child, but child donor hearts are very rare. Her blood type was type A negative, which reduced the chance of finding a suitable heart to close to zero. Even if such a heart is available, the medical establishment still believes that a healthy heart should not be wasted on a person with too many other problems. Zhang Xiaoxiao had nothing to say. Empty encouragement and false hopes did not help Ziluo's condition. Dr. Zhang, do you have a solution? Mu Xiaocheng looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao with eager eyes. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 542. Chapter 542 Trap. I need the case and all the documents to go through before I can decide whether it can be treated. Zhang Xiaoxiao glanced at the entire study quietly. Mu Xiaocheng's many documents were spread out on the table. Mu Xiaocheng opened the bookcase at the back and took out a large pile of documents and placed them on the coffee table. It's all here, Dr. Zhang, you can take your time and look at it. Rarely lost the evil eyes that Zhang Xiaoxiao had just now, Zhang Xiaoxiao took the document to look at the case carefully. Mu Xiaocheng sat silently behind the desk. After putting some documents in the drawer for a while, he glanced at Zhang Xiaoxiao, who was still looking down at the case. Dr. Zhang, I'll be back in a minute. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't even raise his head. Okay, please help yourself. Mu Xiaochen walked past Zhang Xiaoxiao and brushed his fingers on Zhang Xiaoxiao's shoulders. Zhang Xiaoxiao was as still as a mountain. Dr. Zhang, please trouble you. Stepping out of the study door, a long black hair lay in his palm. Mu Feng appeared from behind, took his long hair and put it into a sealed bag, turned around and left. Mu Xiaocheng stood in front of the open window and smoked a cigarette. She is my child. As long as I can keep her alive, I am willing to sell my soul to the devil. Self-mumbling. At the same time, Zhang Xiaoxiao quickly looked around the study room. Her pulse has been speeding up just now. She took a deep breath and felt her pulse stabilize. She suddenly realized that she actually loved adventure. The adventurous spirit in her bones was completely opposite to what she had experienced in her previous life. She felt not afraid, but a kind of excitement. The realization filled her with joy, as if she could finally regain her life and do what she wanted to do. Mu Xiaocheng definitely did it on purpose just now. He put the documents in the drawer in front of strangers. There was something intentional about this move. Zhang Xiaoxiao will not be fooled. Her observation was to see if there were any hidden bugs or cameras. The current technology cannot yet achieve the concealment and compactness of later generations. It can be easily detected that there are no such things in this study. Zhang Xiaoxiao still did not take it lightly. His eyes flashed across the documents, and a book was suddenly placed on the right side of the desk. Judging from the condition of the book, it was easy to see that this book was often read by its owner. Zhang Xiaoxiao quickly checked and found that the book was a geography knowledge book. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the troublesome data in confusion. Then I suddenly noticed some numbers drawn with a black pen. These numbers have no structure. Zhang Xiaoxiao can't understand what they represent at all, so he can only memorize them meaninglessly. The moment he turned his head, he saw the huge world map behind the desk. Right? Coordinates. Those numbers flashed through Zhang Xiaoxiao's mind, and he placed them according to the coordinates of the world map. Several place names suddenly appeared. Zhang Xiaoxiao was jumping carefully, but he still sat back on the chair without changing his expression, and carefully looked through the cases in front of him. These cases record the entire process of a child fighting the disease. Zhang Xiaoxiao felt a little sad. Theoretically, Mu Xiaocheng is very annoying. If the things he did were really like what Jin Dachuan said, dying 10,000 times would not be enough. But when facing Zi Luo, the relationship between father and daughter is also real, with a loving father's heart. Zhang Xiaoxiao kept himself calm. She has no right to criticize a certain person, she can only do what she wants to do. Whether to save Ziluo or not is a difficult question. Ziluo is a poor child, but also a cheerful child. Ziluo is right, even if there is a mistake, it is Mu Xiaocheng's fault. There is no reason why the Mu family's fault should be repaid on a child. But save it, if Mu Xiaocheng knew that the ancestral secret recipe was so powerful, how could he stop? Mu Xiaocheng's ambition is to make money from this. Mu Xiaocheng will definitely not be able to end it without beneficial results. She probably knew what Song Moding and the others were going to do. Justice will not be delayed, and justice cannot be delayed. The interests behind these people are tangled and complicated. Everything on the surface is just legitimate business. If you want to catch them all, the highest authority can't do it, let alone her alone. Just go to Song Moding because the Mu family is in deep crisis, and Zhang Xiaoxiao doesn't want to save anyone. When Mu Xiaocheng came back, Zhang Xiaoxiao was still there reading the medical records, working tirelessly. Classmate Zhang, you still don't have a clue. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled and said, not yet. If I can bring the case back tonight, I should be able to get a result. She must send news to Jin Dachuan, and Jin Dachuan is following her in order to rescue Song Moding and the others as soon as there is news. Classmate Zhang, let's have dinner, it's not a hurry. Mu Xiaocheng has regained his previous calmness, and it is difficult for people to understand Mu Xiaocheng now. Mr. Mu, I need to go back and study Ziluo's case overnight. Eating should not be a big deal to Ziluo's illness. I am a doctor and I pay more attention to my patient's condition. Zhang Xiaoxio's righteous answer really left Mu Xiaocheng speechless. He couldn't help but admire that the girl in front of him was really a newborn calf who was not afraid of tigers. Everyone who sees him will be involuntarily timid when facing him, but the girl in front of him now is not afraid of his majesty. It is rare to not even be dazzled by the wealth of the Mu family. This child is only in his 20s. She is calm, and not moved by wealth. Such girls are indeed different. It is quite similar to the one from the Wu family. Looks very similar too. Even their tempers are similar. Maybe this is a way to open up Wu Weiguo's mouth. I just don't know if Wu Weiguo will be soft-hearted because of this child. Of course, if Wu Weiguo doesn't submit, he has many ways to deal with Wu Weiguo. For example, if Zhang Xiaoxiao is related to the Mu family. What else does Wu Weiguo say? Mu Xiaocheng took a look at the drawer. There were some tricks he had made there. It seemed that Zhang Xiaoxiao was really reading the medical records honestly and did not touch his own drawer. Zhang Xiaoxiao seems to have not recognized Wu Weiguo yet, otherwise Wu Weiguo would not have let his daughter live a mediocre life like this. Wu Weiguo, you are wrong. What you don't do, I will do it for you. Muafeng sent Zhang Xiaoxiao away and returned to the study. Father, Zhang Xiaoxiao has gone back, are you going to let her go like this? Mu Xiaocheng looked at his son with a smile. He had 2 sons. This son was the most like him, and he was also the successor who could take over his mantle. Where did she go? Don't worry. Now let Secretary Li send the hair for inspection. I want to know the answer as soon as possible. And doesn't Zhang Xiaoxiao have a son? Once we get conclusive evidence, bring that child, otherwise Zhang Xiaoxiao will not follow us obediently. Mu Xiaocheng has already thought about the next step. Zhang Xiaoxiao has investigated the information clearly, and he can be 100% sure that Zhang Xiaoxiao and Wu Weiguo are related. He will not let the duck fly. Okay. I understand. But what if the Song family finds out? Muafeng couldn't help but worry. Mu Xiaocheng shook his head, who can know that we took the child away? If not, it doesn't matter. Besides, if Zhang Xiaoxiao is willing to go with us, who can stop him? Father, where is Ziluo? You are so stupid. Doesn't Ziluo lack a heart? If I remember correctly, doesn't that child happen to have type of blood? Ziluo has been waiting for so many years and finally got a suitable opportunity. Muafeng shivered. Dad, you don't have to ask Zhang Xiaoxio's son for a heart. What kind of heart do we want that we can't get? Why bother with the Wu family? Mu Xiaocheng smiled and shook his head. Why is there a feud? Zhang Xiaoxio's son is alive and well, but it's not up to us to decide when Zhang Xiaoxiao will see the child. The child has always been alive and well. My son still can't calm down. Muafeng understood instantly. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 543. Chapter 543 Whirlpool. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked to the grocery store at the corner of the street and saw a strange sister-in-law at the counter who was warmly greeting the buyers. Sister-in-law Li, what do you want to buy today? I want half a bottle of vinegar. Okay, wait, I'll give you something high. Hand over a bottle of vinegar. Sister-in-law asked Zhang Xiaoxiao with a smile on her face, Comrade, What else do you want? I want salt. How much does it cost per pound? 8 cents per caddy, 1 pound per bag of salt, and 3 caddies. How much do you want? Zhang Xiaoxiu's heart suddenly fell to the ground. I want 3 ounces of salt, is that okay? Sister-in-law smiled and said, okay, just 3 or 2. Hand a packet of salt to her. Zhang Xiaoxiao handed her a banknote. Go home after taking the change. Zhang Xiaoxiao returned home. Tang Yuan heard the door opening and rushed out. The chubby little white fat man hugged Jiang's small legs. Mama, you are so bad, you don't even come back to see the glutinous rice balls. He poked Jiang's small arm with his chubby fingers and raised his face with a look of aggrieved accusation. Zhang Xiaoxiao picked up the glutinous rice dumplings tenderly, rubbed his little face, and kissed his forehead and fair face. Tang Yuan, Mom wants glutinous rice too. The warm breath immediately resolved Tang Yuan's complaints, and a pair of small arms like lotus joints tightly hugged Zhang Xiaoxiu's neck. Mom, Tang Yuan misses Mom too, but you came back yesterday and didn't come to see Tang Yuan. Tang Yuan would be angry. Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that Tang Yuan must have heard his voice coming back last night. Hold the dumplings tightly apologetically, Mom was wrong. Mom was too tired last night, so she didn't come to see the dumplings. Mom apologizes. I won't do this again. Tang Yuan puffed up her chest magnanimously, okay. I forgive Mom. Mom, when will Dad come back? I miss Dad too. Zhang Xiaoxiao came into the house holding glutinous rice balls. You want your father to be a big horse for you. One sentence reveals the little white fat man's careful thoughts. Tang Yuan stuck out his tongue, I miss my dad too. Really? Dad, you will be back soon. Tang Yuan will wait patiently. Kicked the door shut with his foot, carried the glutinous rice to the sofa, and put the little fat man down. Fat Tang Yuan, it's time for you to lose weight. You are too fat. You are too fat. Mom can't hold you anymore. Tang Yuan pinched the swimming ring on his belly and couldn't help but blush. It seems that I have eaten too much recently. It seems that I need to eat less rice in the future, otherwise what will happen if my mother can't hold the glutinous rice balls? Tang Yuan likes her mother's soft embrace. Are glutinous rice very fat? Grandma said that glutinous rice need to be fatter to look better. Tang Yuan gives yourself an excuse to eat 3 bowls of glutinous rice at one meal. If you miss 1 bowl of rice, you will not be able to sleep. Tang Yuan felt like the world was shattering when he thought of this. The world is not beautiful. In your grandma's eyes, glutinous rice are the cutest, even if they are fat and turn into little pigs. This is the truth. Mrs. Song longed to treat her great-grandson as a treasure. In the eyes of the old lady, there was nothing wrong with glutinous rice balls. Zhang Xiaoxiao was afraid that Mrs. Song would spoil her child badly. At present, the glutinous rice seem to be in good shape, but I am worried that they will grow crookedly in the future. Tang Yuan eagerly touched his belly, then his double chin, and finally made a difficult decision. Mom, from now on I'll eat glutinous rice with a bowl of rice. Eat more vegetables and less meat. This is the key. The glutinous rice kid is a carnivore, the kind that enjoys all kinds of meat. He can eat 3 bowls of rice with meat and vegetables. If he eats vegetables and radishes, he can't eat even 1 bowl of rice. So the old lady eats a lot of fish and meat every day, otherwise where would this fat body come from? Tang Yuan's face dropped. Mom, the food is not delicious, but the meat is delicious. That is the fate of glutinous rice balls. Without meat, people will die. Then Mom can't hold the dumplings, and she doesn't want to. She really wants to hold the dumplings and watch cartoons. The most favorite glutinous rice these days are Brother Yuxiu. As soon as he heard Brother Yuxiu's theme song, the little guy sat firmly on the sofa without moving. Brother Yuxiu rarely eats meat and is not fat yet. Idle effect. Tang Yuan patted his chest and assured, Tang Yuan can also be made. Tang Yuan can be the same as brother Yuxiu. That night I had a meal of stir-fried cabbage and half a bowl of white porridge, and my weight loss meal of glutinous rice was successfully started. It's not that Zhang Xiaoxiao is cruel. Tang Yuan is only 2 years old and already weighs 50 kilograms. If he continues like this, he will really suffer from many diseases. It will be too late to lose weight when you grow up. Of course, it is also related to the many bad living habits of glutinous rice balls. Since Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding had no time to take care of their children, Tang Yuan spent most of their time with Mrs. Song and Mr. Song. These two old men were already close to each other, and now their pain was as painful as their eyeballs. Nature takes whatever you ask for, and responds to whatever you ask for. Zhang Xiaoxiao touched the soft hair on Tang Yuan's head. The clean Tang Yuan had long been lying on the bed, snoring comfortably and falling asleep. This child has a lot of energy. If he doesn't sleep during the day, he will be so sleepy at night that he can't open his eyes. Zhang Xiaoxiao kissed his son's little face. I don't know if the address on the dollar I gave to buy salt at the snack shop today can help Jin Dachuan find Song Moding and the others. She didn't know if she was doing the right thing. But now she can't meet Jin Dachuan, so she can only wait uneasily. She has read the information about the Mu family and cannot understand that the Mu family has so much wealth but must use this method to obtain wealth. Why exactly? They used countless people's lives to achieve their path to wealth, although the relationship between Mu Xiaocheng and his daughter that I saw today was really touching. But seeing those photos, those casualties caused by biological weapons, the pain seemed to be diluted a lot compared to the true love between Mu Xiaocheng and his daughter. Zhang Xiaoxiao is more worried about Song Moding. Even if she didn't understand the truth of the whole incident, she now understood the dangers of Song Moding and others undertaking this mission. And this mission is a secret mission carried out anonymously. Even if they are caught, they are not recognized by any organization or country. Because it was cross-border, they fought across the border. In other words, if something happens to them, no one can protect them. Jin Dachuan is working so hard to rescue them now just because Jin Dachuan is their comrade. Zhang Xiaoxiao is worried about Song Moding's situation abroad. And there was a faint worry in her heart. Except for Song Moding, it seemed that some inexplicable changes were happening in her body. The Mu family approached her inexplicably. She absolutely believed that the Mu family would never approach her because of Song Moding. Mu Feng has been approaching himself purposefully from the beginning. This change started after his sophomore year. When she was a freshman, even though she was in the limelight, no one came to her door. What is the purpose of the Mu family? With the Song family here, the Mu family would definitely not dare to act rashly. But now that the Mu family has come to their door like this, they are not simply afraid to act rashly. They are planning to act, and it is obvious that the target is Zhang Xiaoxiao. Zhang Xiaoxiao is worried about his own family. There is no problem with the Song family. Mr. Song and Mrs. Song have special people to protect them, and most people will never dare to touch them. But his parents, Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi, are just ordinary people. My brothers and sisters are also ordinary people, and anyone who comes to them will cause trouble. This is the biggest trouble, and this hidden danger brings life danger. She absolutely believed in the people behind the Mu family who dared to do this kind of business, and she absolutely did not believe that they would have any credibility at all. There is no such thing as not harming innocent people. Zhang Xiaoxiao began to examine his abilities for the first time. It seems to be caught in a whirlpool now. A whirlpool that is impossible to escape from. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 544. Chapter 544 Anger. Boss, the Mu family is in trouble now, and the target is aimed at the young lady. Heidegyo and Wu Weiguo report. Wu Weiguo stopped what he was doing and raised his eyes. For a moment, there was endless coldness inside. Dare to touch Wu Weiguo's daughter? It seems that Mu Xiaocheng has made a big move this time. You sent people to keep an eye on Xiao Xiao and Xiaoxiu's relatives. Those relatives are Xiaoxiu's lifeblood. Once any one of them is touched, Xiao Xiao they will all obey. Wu Weiguo is very sober, and everyone can see his daughter's weaknesses. The daughter places too much emphasis on affection and righteousness, and attaches great importance to affection and family. From this point of view, she is probably very different from her cold-hearted temperament. This is also the reason why he has been reluctant to involve Zhang Xiaoxiao in his own affairs. Otherwise, Wu Weiguo's mantle should have been passed on to Zhang Xiaoxiao long ago. But he was afraid that what he did would harm his daughter. He had no choice but to go in alone, and there was no way out. But we can't involve our daughter. As long as Zhang Xiaoxiao doesn't come into contact with this thing for a day, she can live freely. Now it seems that a big net has begun to swallow up their father and daughter. Wu Weiguo was angry. Then what about the Mu family? Heidiguo naturally knew that when the boss said these words, he already had an idea in his mind. This time the Mu family has touched the boss's back. Wu Weiguo pondered, we all know what kind of business Mu Xiaocheng is doing. Originally, this matter had nothing to do with us and it was not our turn to intervene. But since Mu Xiaocheng dares to take Zhang Xiaoxiu's idea, then let him know how powerful he is. Your people will destroy all the illegal factories under him. Wu Weiguo thought of important things. Where is Song Moding? There has been no news about him recently. What on earth has he been doing? His wife and children are in such great danger, and he is not around. What on earth does he do for food? The Song family, are you crazy? He has always been very dissatisfied with the son-in-law. He has investigated and found that although he is the most important grandson of the Song family, he is just an ordinary person. Such a person now relies on Mr. Song, and Mrs. Song can still barely protect Xiao Xiao. But one day, Mr. Song and Mrs. Song are not here, and Song Moding cannot protect his daughter with his ability. What will Tang Yuan and Xiao Xiao do then? This is also the reason why he has never dared to involve Zhang Xiao Xiao, but his abilities are limited. No one can guarantee that he will live a lifetime. His body is deteriorating and he knows that he will not live long. In this case, if these things are not given to Zhang Xiao Xiao, once they fall into the hands of some people with ulterior motives, it will cause chaos. Although the people above can send people to take over these things, everyone knows that there are many black hands here, and who knows which hand will leak this information. Any information leaked would be a disaster for the world. Mu Xiaocheng is a living example. The man looked stern. What I want to tell you is that Song Moding seems to have disappeared all of a sudden and disappeared without a trace. My people can't find any clues or information about him at all. There is no trace of a living person in the past 6 months. I suspect there is some background behind this Song Moding. The man scratched his head in annoyance. Their night intelligence network had never made such a mistake before. If they could cover up a person's whereabouts to this extent, then it was not just a problem of one person. There should be someone from above behind Song Moding. Without someone from above, how could these traces be wiped out without any clues? Wu Weiguo's eyes changed. What did you say? You've been investigating for a long time, but you can't even find out the final details of Song Moding. No wonder it's the Song family. How can a descendant of the Song family be a weakling and a coward? Now you send someone to investigate carefully for me, and you must find out what Song Moding's background is. I'm worried that Song Moding is also here for Xiao Xiao. If that's the case, I don't mind letting this Song Moding disappear. I can't let my daughter's bedside person be someone who plots against her every day. Zhang Xiaoxiu's life is more important than his life now. The guy looked hopeless. They were despised by the boss. What the boss said really made them lose face. I got it, boss, I'm going to get it now. I will definitely dig into Song Moding's details. I don't believe there is anyone who can escape the intelligence network of our Dark Knight organization. Mu Feng stood in Mu Xiaokeng's study. Father and son both looked ugly. What's going on? Who did it? Wu Weiguo. Mu Feng reported in a deep voice. This is Wu Weiguo's warning to us to stop as soon as possible. This makes me more certain that Zhang Xiaoxiao must be Wu Weiguo's daughter, otherwise, Wu Weiguo would not be so angry. People like him don't even bother to do this, and actually let his people directly destroy our 5 underground factories. How about the laboratory at the headquarters? No one discovered it? Mu Xiaocheng was a little annoyed that things had developed to this point, although it confirmed his view. However, such losses are immeasurable. He had just negotiated cooperation methods with several large foreign arms companies, but suddenly something happened to his underground factory. The latest batch of goods was never delivered, and the loss was almost over 1 billion. And it is likely to damage one's reputation. Don't think that they don't pay attention to their reputation when doing this kind of business. Reputation is also very important in their industry. Without a good reputation and a reputation for keeping promises, others would not dare to do business with them casually. After all, this kind of business also requires repeat customers. Without repeat customers and no one to introduce it, who will he sell this thing to? Several billions of losses must be compensated for the losses of the other party. Mu Xiaocheng could not be angry. The laboratory is very hidden. They have not discovered it so far. Besides, the laboratory is not here. As long as it is not in the Xia Kingdom, it has nothing to do with us. No one can prove that these things have anything to do with us. Relationship, we are doing legitimate business. Mu Feng has been doing business with his father for so many years, and of course he knows that it is important to put things in order. Absolutely not leave a single clue implicating their father and son. They can live in such peace here now because they have washed themselves as white as possible. Regardless of social status or reputation, they are praiseworthy business leaders and outstanding businessmen worthy of commendation for their integrity. If anyone dares to put this label on them, I am afraid that even the businessmen who cooperate with them will not agree. This is the benefit of reputation, this is the benefit of status. Mu Xiaocheng nodded. Wu Weiguo thought he could scare me in this way. If that's the case, let's take action quickly. As long as Zhang Xiaoxiao and Zhang Xiaoxiao's son are in his hands, I don't believe Wu Weiguo can scare me. How am I doing? Doesn't he care about this daughter so much? Then let him bow his head to me and admit defeat. Mu Feng agreed with a serious expression and went out to give orders. End of this chapter. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 545. Chapter 545 First Appearance. Zhang Xiaoxiao appeared at the Mu family villa again. This time I am here for Zi Luo. Mu Feng blocked her in the school classroom early in the morning, saying that his sister was in a very urgent situation, and he hoped that she could bring the medicine passed down from her ancestors and go directly to see her sister with him. Having a glimmer of hope is better than no hope at all. Zhang Xiaoxiao has not heard any news from Jin Dachuan in the past 2 days. Until now, he doesn't know whether Jin Dachuan has found Song Moding's way out. He didn't know whether the news he got was what Jin Dachuan wanted. It is imperative to go to the study room again. So even though she could see that Mu Feng's excuse seemed not very good, he still pretended not to understand and followed Mu Feng to Mu's house. The atmosphere seems to be a bit off in the past few days. Zhang Xiaoxiao can clearly feel that there seem to be some strangers around him. Always following her not far or near, she didn't know whether he was from the Mu family or from Jin Dachuan. Is it to protect her or to monitor her? Now Zhang Xiaoxiao can only give in to the snake. What else to do? Without the exact whereabouts of Song Moding, Zhang Xiaoxiao will never completely cut off contact with the Mu family. She might need information from the Mu family at any time. Didn't see Ziluo, Zhang Xiaoxiao saw Mu Xiaocheng. Mr. Mu, take me to see Ziluo. Didn't you say that Ziluo is in danger? Zhang Xiaoxiao felt the malice behind Mu Xiaocheng's smiling face. From the moment she entered Mu's house, she noticed that there were 4 or 5 obviously armed guards in the living room of Mu's house. These guards were obviously different from the guards she saw patrolling in the yard. He is strong, with big shoulders and round waist, and his breath can be felt. This kind of person is someone who has emerged from the killing. Her eyes were dangerous and her expression was serious, especially the look she was looking at, which seemed to convey a hint of evil. Mu Xiaocheng extended his hand to signal, his attitude still very gentlemanly. Dr. Zhang, please sit down. In fact, I invite you here today. Ziluo is just an excuse, actually, because I want to see you. Mu Xiaocheng shed that layer of hypocritical disguise, and his whole person revealed a heroic edge. His eyes were sharp, lacking the trace of from that day. Calm down and controlled, this is the attitude Mu Xiaocheng should have. Mr. Mu, what do you want to do? At this time, it is indeed advisable to pretend to be weak and defuse the other party's guard, but Zhang Xiaoxiao is not that kind of person and cannot do such a move. Zhang Xiaoxiao sat down calmly, not showing a trace of uneasiness. In exchange for Mu Xiaocheng's approving smile, Dr. Zhang, I need Dr. Jiang's help. Of course, I want to see how magical Dr. Jiang's ancestral secret recipe is, and Dr. Jiang's identity is what I need. Being candid and honest is enough. Zhang Xiaoxiao's alarm bells were ringing loudly. Mu Xiaocheng dared to say so unscrupulously, that was because he had someone to rely on. Having too many weaknesses. Fan Jiuying, Zhang Lishi, Zhang Yu, Zhang Xian, Zhang Lei can be chosen at random. Don't mention the glutinous rice balls. She had an in-depth talk with the old lady last night. Of course he didn't say it explicitly, but he also implicitly expressed that there might be some people with unknown intentions around him, and he hoped that the old lady could protect Tang Yuan better. The old lady had been wary of the people around her since the old man was poisoned. Although I don't know why Sun's wife said this, she will never let Tang Yuan get hurt. Zhang Xiaoxiao believes this. Mr. Mu, the ancestral secret recipe cannot be used casually, and my ancestral secret recipe lacks a lot of medicine. Now I can't get enough, so it may be of no use to Miss Ziluo. And I am just an ordinary medical student. If you think that I am the granddaughter-in-law of the Song family, I may not be able to help Mr. Mu. Zhang Xiaoxiao would not let go easily, especially when it came to his own peach. Mu Xiaocheng's purpose is not clear, but what he did was not fair and above board. Her peaches are already enviable, but if they are used by people like Mu Xiaocheng, there is no telling what harm will be produced to the world. Dr. Zhang is too humble. I have heard of your ancestral secret recipe for a long time. Mr. Song, isn't it thanks to your ancestral secret recipe? Is it because we are outsiders and are not worthy of using your secret recipe now that we are modest? But if I remember correctly, Wu Xiaocheng of the Wu family also used your secret recipe. Could it be that you can take over the house of the Wu family, but wouldn't you be willing to take over the house of our Mu family? Zhang Xiaoxiao has known for a long time, how could such a thing be hidden in their circle? The Mu family are not just ordinary civilians. You can find out about this kind of thing just by using some methods. Mr. Mu, you are polite. It is true that a house in the Wu family was exchanged for the secret recipe handed down from our ancestors. However, I had already prepared the medicine at that time. But after the Wu family used it, I am now in short supply of medicine, so I can't get these recipes together for a while. There is no way to make these medicines if there are no medicines in the body. I won't let go until I die. Mu Xiaocheng's expression did not change. It's not like a hero has never seen this kind of thing in his life. The girl in front of me is so desperate that she dares to reject herself? Do you know if she was asked to bring out the ancestral secret recipe? If it weren't for the sake of the Wu family, she would not be rare for this ancestral secret recipe. Although what the Wu family says is amazing, everyone knows how many good doctors the Wu family has hired. The Wu family itself is a leader in the medical field, and they cannot hire any kind of doctor they want. And the Wu family has also prepared the heart of a death row prisoner. They have been preparing for that child for how many years? Although I don't know why a heart transplant was not performed in the end, Wu Jiahua's efforts were definitely not inferior to those of his Mu family. The Wu family may have used some other means, but they just used Zhang Xiaoxiao as a cover to the outside world. I guess it was to give Zhang Xiaoxiao a good reputation. After all, Zhang Xiaoxiao was the daughter of Wu Weiguo. It is not normal for a biological daughter not to pave a bright road for her. Mu Xiaocheng is really not interested in this ancestral secret recipe. How can he know about his daughter's illness? He has seen too many ancestral secret recipes. What can those ancestral secret recipes do? It is of no use to my daughter's illness. Dr. Zhang, there is nothing you can do to help Ziluo, but I know someone who can. I invited Dr. Zhang here because only Dr. Zhang can bring this person here. Mu Xiaokeng's words made Zhang Xiaoxiao wary. This person was definitely not from the Song family. Mr. Mu, you should know Mr. Meng performs brain surgery, which has nothing to do with the heart. Besides, heart transplant surgery requires a suitable heart source, which is rare. Mr. Yumu's financial resources and connections should be able to do it. As long as you find a new suitable heart source, you should be able to hire countless doctors to perform such operations. Zhang Xiaoxiao thought he was talking about old MRS Song. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 546. Chapter 546. Only the little white rabbit knows. Dr. Zhang, I'm not talking about MRS Song, I'm talking about Mr. Wu Weiguo, your biological father Wu Weiguo. Mu Xiaocheng placed the document in his hand in front of Zhang Xiaoxiao. After worrying for a long time, the other boot finally dropped. Mr. Mu, you may be mistaken. Wu Weiguo has nothing to do with me. My relationship with the Wu family is just that between a doctor and a patient. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't look at those things. It had nothing to do with her. The question is what exactly Wu Weiguo does that allows Mu Xiaocheng to investigate so thoroughly. Even being able to find out that she is Wu Weiguo's biological daughter, Mr. Mu really cannot be underestimated. Dr. Zhang, if I don't have conclusive evidence for this kind of thing, why would I come to tell you? Look at the document in front of you. This is the DNA data of you and Wu Weiguo. The last time Dr. Zhang came to our house, no excuse me, I borrowed a piece of your hair to use. The accuracy of this test is as high as 99%. This has clearly stated that you are Wu Weiguo's biological daughter. Zhang Xiaoxiao realized that the document bag in front of him must contain a DNA report. There is no point in denying it yourself, this is ironclad evidence. So what, Wu Weiguo didn't know my daughter for so many years, and my daughter didn't know who my biological father was. There is no father-daughter relationship between the two of us. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't care. It's not like she had never seen a DNA report in her previous life. She was very familiar with this kind of report. Of course she knew that they had only obtained conclusive evidence. Dr. Zhang, although I don't know what medicine your ancestral secret recipe is missing, I can help you find it. Dr. Zhang will prepare the ancestral secret recipe here. Of course, I will invite Mr. Wu here as a guest. After all, your father asked, the reunion of women is also a great joy. Zhang Xiaoxiao was shocked. This is not about letting yourself go. Mr. Mu, is this inappropriate? If I need any medicine, you can send it to my home. I will definitely do my best to help you prepare the medicine, but leaving me at Mu's house is restricting my personal freedom. Aren't you an excellent and well-known businessman? It is illegal to control the personal freedom of others. She pretended not to know who the person in front of her was. Mu Xiaocheng laughed loudly. Dr. Zhang, you are still too naive. Since I have planned to invite you here, I will definitely not use those dirty methods. I hope Dr. Zhang is willing to stay in our Mu family. Of course, Dr. Zhang will definitely agree to stay here. After all, Dr. Jiang's son will be delivered soon. Is Dr. Zhang willing to let your glutinous rice stay alone at Mu's house? Zhang Xiaoxiao suppressed his anger, tried not to get too excited, and kept a calm tone. Mu Xiaocheng, what did you do to my son? Mu Xiaocheng smiled slowly. Don't worry, Dr. Zhang, you will be able to see your son, your parents, and your sister a little later. A family reunion is a happy thing. Mr. Mu, what do you mean? Zhang Xiaoxiao was really nervous. She couldn't protect her family. Even though she was now the granddaughter-in-law of the Song family, she still couldn't protect her family. Facing the threat, I still have no choice. Zhang Xiaoxiao somewhat hated his incompetence. The heart is too small, and one's ambition is too small. If the goal of Rebirth she set at the beginning was to make friends with the leaders of the upper class, maybe she could find shelter now, and no one would dare to touch her family casually. This is the limitation of a woman's vision. She saw getting rich and changing the fate of her family, but she never thought that she would encounter more ups and downs in the future. As their tide rises, some people will have their thoughts changed. The power behind him is not enough to protect his family. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoxiao had evil thoughts in his heart, and he really wanted to kill the man in front of him. This Mu Xiaocheng really should die. If a few days ago, he was moved by the interaction between Mu Xiaocheng and his daughter, but at this moment, Zhang Xiaoxiao felt that she wanted Mu Xiaocheng to die. Mu Xiaocheng smiled, as if these words were very light to him. Dr. Zhang, don't be afraid. You are my guest, and your family is my guest. As long as you stay here obediently, help me prepare the medicine from your ancestral secret recipe and treat it for my daughter sick. Of course, give Mr. Wu a call now. So these guys are just visiting our Mu family. Our Mu family's villa is very large, so even if we entertain hundreds of guests, there should be no problem. They will live here for a few months, and I believe that my people will definitely take good care of them. Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't let herself sneer. Her cynicism could only aggravate Mu Xiaocheng's madness and would not have any effect. Mr. Mu, didn't you ever think that I wouldn't agree? Dr. Zhang, you are young and sometimes you don't understand. I understand. But I think you will understand clearly when you see them at the dinner table tomorrow morning. Someone will take Dr. Zhang back to his room. Dr. Zhang needs a good rest. No one should disturb Dr. Zhang. Two men in black walked directly to Zhang Xiaoxiao, and one of them pulled Zhang Xiaoxiao's arm hard. Zhang Xiaoxiao pushed the other party's hand away displeased. The man in black tried to twist Jiang's small arm almost roughly. Once he really twists it, the man's strength is so great that it is impossible for Zhang Xiaoxiao not to be injured. Don't be violent to Dr. Zhang. If Dr. Zhang loses a hair, I will kill you. Mu Xiaocheng's words made the two men in black freeze for an instant. I can walk by myself. Zhang Xiaoxiao was sent to the guest room upstairs, a luxurious suite, but the windows in the room were obviously closed and could not be opened at all. If Zhang Xiaoxiao wants to escape from here, it will be impossible. The man in black pushed her in hard. Stay quietly. The door is closed. Zhang Xiaoxiao quickly got up from the ground and checked each room. He was very sure that there was no surveillance system in the room. He was not sure whether there was a bug or not. But now that the relationship has been broken, it doesn't matter whether there is a bug in the room or not. Concerning what Mu Xiaocheng told her today, She was not worried at all that she would reveal other people's secrets. Mu Xiaocheng had already torn off his mask, revealing his ferocious face. It can be seen that this time he was implicated by Wu Weiguo. My father has never fulfilled his responsibility of raising me and never enjoyed his father's love for a single day. But it was also his father who he had not even acknowledged who had caused him to be implicated. Zhang Xiaoxiao sat on the bed and quietly thought about what to do next. The meaning of Mu Xiaokeng's words was very clear. His family could not escape the hands of these people. Although I am not threatened now, if a family member is arrested tomorrow morning at the latest, I will have no choice but to compromise. Mu Xiaokeng's current target is Wu Weiguo. That's because he doesn't know the secret of the ancestral recipe. Once he knew that the ancestral secret recipe was so effective, under that situation, he would be the meat on his chopping board. I am a fish and meat, and others are a knife. This feeling must be unpleasant, and she must save herself. Zhang Xiaoxiao remembered the special effects of those peaches in the space. Only the little white rabbit who sleeps forever knows what effect his peach will have if it is overdosed. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 547. Chapter 547, Change of Appearance. 3 hours later, Zhang Xiaoxiao was invited to a room on the second floor. When Zhang Xiaoxiao saw the 3 tall men in the room, Mu Xiaocheng looked as elegant as usual. Mu Feng was accompanying a man gracefully, but what made her breathless was the man next to him. That one looked seriously dangerous and a little different. His dark eyes looked at her with scrutiny, and there was an inexplicable coldness in his eyes. She tried her best to suppress herself from taking a step back in surprise, and stretched out her hands to hold the edge of her skirt tightly, so as not to show any expression. The dull expression makes it difficult to tell what she is thinking. Haven't seen each other for a few months, but she didn't expect that seeing her again would bring such a huge sensory impact to her. At this moment, she realized that Song Moding had been very reserved in front of her before, because now the dangerous power in his character was exuding heart-stopping charm. Even though his face has changed a lot, there is an extra scar from the corner of his forehead to the bridge of his nose, his facial features are more three-dimensional, and his beard is impressive, especially the color of his eyes turned blue, especially because of Song Moding actually appeared here. Mu Feng didn't recognize Song Moding. Zhang Xiaoxin was trembling. Why did Song Moding appear here? Is this part of their plan? I have misunderstood what Jin Dachuan meant. Or is it just a play between Jin Dachuan and Song Moding from the beginning to the present? Or does Song Moding have some important mission and must lurk next to Mu Xiaocheng? Yes. Task. But Song Moding knew that they were now behind bars and that his family was in danger? Song Moding looked her up and down with his cold eyes. Zhang Xiaoxiao wanted to look away and stay calm, but he couldn't. All the cells in her body were excited. Involuntary trembling and excitement. Song Moding is here and the game really begins. Dr. Zhang. This is Mr. Shi, my biological expert. Let me introduce you to him. Mr. Shi, this is Zhang Xiaoxiao. I hope you can help Dr. Zhang complete her ancestral secret recipe. I can't wait to see the results. Zhang Xiaoxiao indifferently refused to show any interest in Mr. Shi, and her resistance was in line with her current state. Dr. Zhang. Mr. Shi repeated the name slowly. Shi, I think Mr. Mu may not understand what I mean. I will not hand over my ancestral secret recipe. If I don't go back, the Song family will soon find out. Mr. Mu, are you ready for the storm? Her throat was tight, and the words she almost spoke were hard. Her reaction seemed to surprise Mu Xiaocheng. Dr. Zhang, obviously you are going to see your son soon, I think you will have a good time working with Mr. Shi. Mu Xiaocheng didn't care at all about Zhang Xiaoxiao's attitude. He had given Zhang Xiaoxiao too much courtesy and he didn't need it now. His men have responded and captured the cub. He can start. Mu Xiaocheng gave Mu Feng a look and said, I'll leave this to you. I'm going to wait for Mr. Wu to arrive. Mu Feng bowed respectfully, okay. Father. The door closed, Mu Feng glanced at the two silent people in the room. Mr. Shi. I think you can convince Dr. Zhang. I'm waiting for your good news. Mu Feng actually left. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Mr. Shi stupidly. Mr. Shi extended his hand and said, Dr. Zhang, it's a pleasure to work with you. Before she heard his voice, she hadn't realized how much she missed him and the surprise he brought. But she was worried that Mu Xiaokeng's people were nearby, which meant that she had to stay alert, because some people might be behind the door at any time. She didn't know yet what the trouble was. Song Moding held the person in his arms as soon as he reached it. Hug him hard, but without any explanation. They looked at each other in the dark room, and she saw his eyes were calm and controlled, and understanding was like a bucket of cold water being poured over his head. Song Moding didn't say anything, which meant there was a bug here or something else. You want me to cooperate, unless I die. With a loud slap in the face, Zhang Xiaoxiao ran away. Song Moding had a smile on his face. His little woman was so smart. It seems that he was born to dance on the edge of a knife. Touching his cheek, it really didn't mean he was acting at all. This slap is too harsh. Xiao Xiao must be angry. But in fact, he did not expect this. Their blasting only destroyed part of the cargo, but a large amount of cargo was still hidden in other places. He and his comrades were scattered everywhere due to accidents. They accomplished their mission, but only temporarily. Unfortunately, those studies have started again. This time it must be completely stopped. One of his comrades was captured by Mu Xiaocheng. Song Moding could not let his team members die like this. Especially the virus studied by Mu Xiaocheng, the influenza virus, has been modified through the efforts of Mu Xiaokeng's staff so that it can be transmitted from human to human, and it will cause a global pandemic. After that, the vaccine he invented at the same time will be in great demand. Humans have never encountered this virus before, so they have no such resistance. In order to cause greater panic, they also modified the virus to make it more lethal to children and the elderly, because they do not have as complete immune systems as adults. Millions of people will die by then, and a pandemic will be more serious than the one many years ago, when 20 to 50 million people died. Song Moding, think about it, it is more lethal to children. It reminds me of those children who are like glutinous rice balls. He must take action to prevent these children from dying. In order to protect these children and the elderly, he will do whatever it takes. Even if it's your own life. This virus has been modified. As soon as a vaccine is ready, packages will be sent to big cities around the world, where people come into contact with each other most frequently. By the time the world started to panic, thousands or even millions of people were already dead. Then Mu Xiaocheng will announce that he has discovered a vaccine for influenza, and the Mu family's company can bid for it. They will make a fortune. Yes, this is typical: control supply, create demand, and artificially control to maintain high prices. Mu Xiaocheng was almost heartbroken and crazy. Song Moding and the others knew very well that the Mu family had many connections in the political world, and people at the top had owed him favors. That laboratory is researching vaccines against viruses. It is normal for viruses to be present there. All evidence is corrupted by his influence. They couldn't get any valid evidence against the Mu family to accuse Mu Xiaocheng. Even if the evidence is conclusive, there is still a reasonable explanation, which he has to admire. He had no choice but to change his appearance and come here pretending to be Mr. Shi, invited by Mu Xiaocheng. This dressing up took a lot of effort on his part. Of course, if it weren't for Mu Feng's help, he might not have been so successful. Who would have thought that the Tianya associated with him would actually be Mu Feng? Mu Xiaokeng's son. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 548. Chapter 548. The Last Night. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Zhang Xiaoxiao saw the curtains beside the balcony door fluttering in the dark. Unable to sleep, she lay in the darkness waiting for Song Moding to appear. She didn't hear any sound, only the slight fluttering of the curtains hinted at his arrival, and then his dark figure appeared in the gloom. She sat up and tightened her clothes. She couldn't be as casual here as she was at home. He walked across the room silently and came to the bedside exactly. Bent down and put his mouth to her ear, making a silent gesture. Start to feel around the room. Zhang Xiaoxiao was used to the darkness and could see clearly even in the dark. Song Moding was checking the entire room calmly. No corner was spared. 5 minutes later, Song Moding came to her side. No bugs. I checked it as soon as I arrived, and I didn't find that thing. She answered in a very low voice. There was it in the room just now. Permanent or temporary? Permanent. He wants to monitor the people in that room. You and I are actually the targets of his surveillance, but I am better than you. At least he thinks that I am one of his own. When he sat down on the bed, the mattress sank toward him. She suppressed the sudden panic. What about glutinous rice balls? Can Mu Xiaocheng really bring glutinous rice balls? She panicked all night, worrying about this. Hurting her family is an unforgivable crime. Don't worry, Tang Yuan is safe. Muofeng is one of ours, and he will bring back another child. You have to pretend to be obedient. Song Moding hugged Zhang Xiaoxiao tightly. They hadn't seen each other for several months. He really missed his wife's warm and fragrant smell and soft body. He didn't expect to meet here. Muofeng cannot do too much in many things. His identity cannot be revealed. But Zhang Xiaoxiao was actually involved. The moment Song Moding found out, he wanted to beat up Jin Dachuan. If it weren't for Jin Dachuan's random instructions, Zhang Xiaoxiao would never have been involved. Zhang Xiaoxiao is not alone now, but a group of people. Fortunately, Wu Weiguo's situation is not too bad. There are people secretly protecting the Zhang family and Tang Yuan. Muofeng does not need to hide this. It is also a way to make Mu Xiaocheng surrender to the rat weapon. The problem is that Zhang Xiaoxiao is already here, and Song Moding feels his heart is blocked. This is his most cherished wife, but now she is in jail like him. What happened today didn't do anything to you, did it? He asked, concern in his voice. I thought you wouldn't recognize me, but I wasn't surprised at all when I saw you. I thought you didn't recognize me. How is that possible? My heart was in my throat. I kept staring at Muofeng without looking, just wondering why he didn't recognize you. I could tell it was you at a glance. She spoke in a steady voice. Fortunately, everything is okay, I can handle it. That turned out to be the perfect reaction, you were just right. Zhang Xiaoxiao touched Song Moding's cheek. He was now very different from the Song Moding in his impression. If she hadn't been so familiar with him that she couldn't misidentify him, she wouldn't have believed that the person in front of her was Song Moding. What kind of disguise did you put on? You look completely different. Change the hairline, straighten the eyebrows, and insert thin strips into the chin to change the shape of the face. Song Moding carefully rubbed Jiang's small skin, and used his palms to patrol his territory inch by inch. How long has it been since they last met? It's been a long time since I've been intimate. How long have you been running Mr. Shi's identity? Why does Mu Xiaocheng trust you so much? She was worried that Song Moding would be recognized by Mu Xiaocheng. Even if Muofeng is there to act as an internal response, this is unreasonable. Muofeng is crazy, wanting to deal with his father like this. Several years ago. At first it was just a name in the file, but slowly I added some things about him, some descriptions of his appearance, and a photo that didn't show anything. But that was enough for everyone to know about me. I am convinced of my identity. She raised her head and found him staring at her, sensing her uneasiness. It's fine. He whispered and opened his arms to her. Zhang Xiaoxiao took the initiative to bury herself into his warm body, resting her head on his shoulder, feeling him wrap his arms around her, eliminating her tension. He kissed the top of her head. His hand slid back and forth on her back, trying to relax her tense muscles. Tonight is the last night, I won't stay here until dawn. Trying to keep his tone calm, but unable to suppress a hint of bitterness. But maybe tomorrow will be their last day. He is not a and will die. Especially when facing such a vicious person. Remember the power of positive thinking. Tonight is the first night, not the last. Zhang Xiaoxiao tried to correct his wording. She didn't want to hear words like last night. It's very sad and scary. Her peach is not omnipotent. In case of emergency, nothing can be done. Okay, it's the first night of a new chapter. Song Moding promised to raise her head and give her a warm kiss, then extend, expand, and deepen it. Slowly he becomes more intense and the nature of the kiss will soon change. Zhang Xiaoxiao thought he would be thrown onto the bed, but he didn't even put his hands into his clothes. There was a cry of a bird outside the window. It's all over. As he walked towards the balcony, a question suddenly occurred to her. How did you get in? She checked the rooms and they were all sealed. How could Mu Feng's territory be without loopholes? After saying those words, he disappeared outside the balcony door. Zhang Xiaoxiao got out of bed, locked the balcony door and returned to bed. Although she was exhausted, she couldn't sleep. Everything depends on the next 24 hours. She must put her mind on this matter, not Song Moding. What Song Moding said just now shocked her. Mu Xiaocheng was so heartbroken that it was outrageous. For money. Even if the whole world is buried with him. There is such a person. Zhang Xiaoxiao thought about her relatives, including the elderly and children, who were all defenseless. Even if she could save her relatives with peaches, she could not save the whole world. Those things must be destroyed, especially those virus samples. Mu Xiaocheng must die. Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that if Mu Xiaocheng didn't die, he would continue to find people to make these things. How could such a person admit failure? The solution once and for all is for Mu Xiaocheng to die. Zhang Xiaoxiao thought of his peach. Perhaps we can start to come up with the ancestral secret recipe. Doesn't Mu Xiaocheng want it? She wanted Mu Xiaocheng to drink the poison willingly. It's still too late to think about Song Moding after all this is over and she returns home, because by then he will never disappear from her life again, and everything will not matter. Now she should think about how to obtain the sample and deal with Mu Xiaocheng. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 549. Chapter 549 Dilemma. Song Moding is now in a dilemma. He knows that the only thing he can do is to deal with one thing at a time according to the priority and hope that the matter can be solved. Of course, Zhang Xiaoxiao's matter cannot be solved yet, and when he thinks of what he has to do, he feels his heart tightening. Things need to be resolved now rather than their personal safety. Mr. Shi goes out for a run in the morning light. It is his habit. No one questions it. 10 minutes after he went out, Mu Feng also went out for a walk. The two people met in front of the fountain in the garden. After polite greetings, Song Moding moved his chest from side to side unintentionally, and his eyes briefly glanced around. The patrol guards didn't even give them a second glance. It would be strange if someone has nothing to do but stare at the eldest son of the Mu family. But there is no way to tell whether there is a pair of eyes behind the curtain on the second floor. But speaking openly and openly is more trustworthy to Mu Xiaocheng than hiding in a dark corner, isn't it? It's not feasible to sneak in. Mu Feng lit a cigarette and reminded him softly. Why, we don't have much time now. I don't need to sneak in. I am Dr. Shi, the best biological expert. Just go in openly. Song Moding was doing stretching exercises facing the floor bead in front of him. You can, but how do you leave with the samples, and how do you leave with Zhang Xiaoxiao? And that child, the additional external security personnel hired since last night have made it more difficult, especially at night. Every entrance and aisle guards have been added. On the contrary, there will be less security during the day, but there will be more guests coming and going during these 2 days. The worst part is that my brother is coming. You know, Mu Chen is not me, we are completely opposite. He is passionate about this game. This is how he envisioned the territory. He is not my father, but he is better than my father. This is the worst. Song Moding didn't change his expression and even managed a smile. Mu Chen's appearance made their actions inconvenient, but very reasonable. Mu Xiaocheng liked his younger son more, perhaps because his ambition was the same as his. Mu Chen's appearance will disrupt everything. I recommend going in now. Song Moding was a little restless. He wanted to save the world, but it was impossible to sacrifice Zhang Xiaoxiao. Then let him bear all this alone. Mu Feng stared at Song Moding in surprise. Don't forget your responsibilities. You are so impulsive now that you can't solve the problem. Song Moding suppressed his anger and knew that Mu Feng was right. I'm not impulsive. Now is the best time. Wu Weiguo is coming today. Mu Xiaocheng will definitely meet with Wu Weiguo. A long meeting is unavoidable. Why don't I, a researcher, go to the laboratory? I will make a logical excuse and bring the specimen with me. Leave, or simply destroy it? You said that high temperature can destroy this virus. You have explosive equipment now. Mu Feng looked at Song Moding suspiciously. He knew that he would not involve Zhang Xiaoxiao if it was not because Mu Xiaocheng had noticed Zhang Xiaoxiao. Song Moding may have gone crazy. Song Moding smiled charmingly, stretched out his hand frivolously and put it on Mu Feng's shoulder. I want to say that your father personally sent those things to the laboratory a long time ago. They are very safe, but the detonation timer has not been turned on. I can do it at any time. When will the people be rescued? Mu Feng thought of Song Moding's large box of instruments and equipment. Mu Xiaocheng had actually escorted them in personally. There must be a device inside. My heart suddenly calmed down. Later, when Wu Weiguo arrives, you can take the people away while I hold Mu Xiaocheng. Mu Feng's eyes were filled with ice, and he spoke as if he was not his father. I will set it for half an hour, and it will be a surprise when I leave. You calculate the time to leave. Song Moding, you must do what you promised me. You must keep your promise. Mu Feng grabbed Song Moding's sleeve. Song Moding smiled again. Since my superiors have reached such an agreement with you, we don't want to lose your role. You will be very useful to us, and vice versa. You have the means to obtain a lot of very interesting information, and we are willing to pay you generous remuneration. You know what I mean. I'm not doing this for some holy height. I have no moral requirements. The only thing that interests me is. Mu Feng said, his eyes still cold. It doesn't matter whether you have high moral standards or not, but our most generous bonus is ours since we promised. We will not break the promise as long as you do it. We will do it too. I ask you to swear on Zhang Xiaoxiao that you will arrive. Okay. I swear, I will promise to help Ziluo find a heart and cure her disease. Song Moding's soft words brought a deathly silence. Mu Feng's face was twisted in hatred. I hate using Violet as a bargaining chip, but you have to remember what you said. Otherwise, I will make you have no peace in the world. I promise you, what I'm providing here is the government's service of finding a matching heart for her. That's a service you can't buy no matter how much money you spend. Although a new heart may not save her life, but at least she'll have a chance to hold out until other new treatments become available. He was hesitant, and the painful struggle of being an older brother was written all over his face. That's good, he said hoarsely, without any bargaining. His love for Zilugo is sincere and unconditional. As long as he can save her, he will not hesitate to betray his father. Dad, don't push your eldest brother too hard. You don't know what kind of person he is. Everything I do is enough. You let him do what he wants. Mu Chen looked at Mu Feng outside the window and remained silent at the fountain. No one knows what Mu Feng and Mr. Shi said. But Mu Chen knew that his eldest brother was not a kind person. He didn't believe his eldest brother's polite greetings to Mr. Shi, and neither did Mu Xiaocheng. He doesn't want anything to go wrong now. Just the last step. Those virus samples are in Wu Weiguo's laboratory, and everything they say to the outside world is what Wu Weiguo has in his hands. With all this, they are the ones who dominate this world. The supporters and buyers behind him will be even crazier. It's just a finishing touch and no one can try to destroy it. Mu Xiaocheng frowned. Your elder brother is too soft-hearted and not suitable for this. I plan to let him take Zi Luo abroad after this time. Zi Luo will be very happy to have him accompany him. Mu Xiaocheng's heart is not as hard as a rock. I'll take you to meet Zhang Xiaoxiao. I think she should compromise honestly. Half an hour later. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the chubby child sitting on the bed watching TV in the glass window. She was surprised that this child was almost exactly like a glutinous rice dumpling. If she didn't look at the facial features carefully, even she would be deceived by the back view. The child was watching cartoons carefreely, laughing like silver bells from time to time. Zhang Xiaoxiao was worried about her child. The child was almost the same age as Tang Yuan, but he was in dire straits because of Tang Yuan. She would not let anything happen to the child, and she would be sorry for the child. Her worried eyes made Mu Xiaocheng proud. When you see your son, you should be honest, right? End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 550. Chapter 550 Indifferent. I will agree to whatever you want me to do. Zhang Xiaoxiao's resolute expression when she turned her head made Mu Xiaocheng relieved that a woman would always compromise when it comes to her children. That's right. Dr. Zhang, I hope we can have a happy cooperation. Don't worry, your son will get the best care. As long as you do your job well, I won't do anything to him. Zhang Xiaoxiao snorted, when can I let my son be with me? Whether this child is Tang Yuan or not, he is still a child. She cannot be so cold-blooded as to let others die for her son. She will protect this child regardless of emotion or reason. Soon, don't worry, Dr. Zhang, if you take out the secret recipe handed down from your ancestors one day earlier, you will see your son earlier. Mr. Shi is waiting for you in the laboratory. Mu Xiaocheng is still very interested in Zhang Xiaoxiao's ancestral secret recipe. Zhang Xiaoxiao glanced at the room reluctantly before leaving. Perform a physical examination on this child and let Ziluo prepare. Let's perform an operation on her in a few days. She can't wait any longer. Mu Xiaocheng's heart ached when he talked about his daughter. Mu Chen nodded, don't worry, I will prepare for this. Wu Weiguo actually didn't come, right? The call came to nothing. Wu Weiguo ignored Mu Xiaocheng at all. This is probably something Mu Xiaocheng never expected. It seems that Wu Weiguo doesn't care about this daughter at all. Mu Xiaocheng dropped all the cups on the coffee table. Mu Feng looked at the furious Mu Xiaocheng. What Mu Xiaocheng wanted was the thing in Wu Weiguo's hand that was more powerful than the virus in his hand. People are so greedy, and the thing in his hand was obviously already it can bring disaster to the world and create huge wealth. But I still want to greedily possess the most powerful energy in the world. He knew what his father wanted. His father wanted to become the Dark who dominated the world. Mu Xiaocheng doesn't care at all how many people will die in this world. Mu Xiaocheng is simply crazy. Go tell Zhang Xiaoxiao that if she doesn't give me the ancestral secret recipe within 3 days and let me see the results, then she will never see her son again. And tell her to come to my room tonight. Come. Mu Xiaocheng was impatient. Since Wu Weiguo was so disrespectful and unwilling to protect his daughter, don't blame yourself for being rude. Originally, he would not lay a finger on Zhang Xiaoxiao, and for Wu Weiguo's sake, it was impossible for him to do so. However, Wu Weiguo now does not recognize this daughter at all. Zhang Xiaoxiao has completely discounted her own value, and is no different from ordinary women. The so-called ancestral secret recipe has not seen any effect at all. Maybe it was a bluff, so Zhang Xiaoxiao had to show her greatest value as a woman. At least he was giving her face by being able to like her. After a pause, the whole person became stiff. Mu Xiaocheng is crazy. This is to anger Song Moding. He doesn't even know what Song Moding will do for Zhang Xiaoxiao. When the time comes, this person will go crazy and no one will be able to make it easy. Father, what if Wu Weiguo changes his mind? If something happens to Zhang Xiaoxiao, Song Moding will destroy the entire Mu family. He will not let anything happen to Zi Luo. In this matter, all the members of the Mu family were buried with him, so they all deserve to die. But Ziluo is very innocent. From birth to now, her hands have not been stained with any blood, and she has not done any evil deeds. Why should this innocent child bear the sins of all adults? Well, if Wu Weiguo doesn't call tomorrow, don't blame me for being rude. Mu Xiaocheng was furious. He also knew that what he just said was a bit excessive. Even if Wu Weiguo made a decision, he would not be able to make it immediately. If it were him, he would not accept it immediately, at least he would not let his opponent know that he cares about this daughter. And there is no telling, Wu Weiguo will find a way to rescue him today. I am a little too impatient. Perhaps because his daughter's condition has been deteriorating recently, he really started to feel a little irritable and wanted to bury her with the world. Mu Feng wiped his sweat. Mu Xiaocheng was looking for death. He turned around and went to Mr. Shi's research room. Not only Mr. Shi was there, but Zhang Xiaoxiao was also there, as well as Mu Chen. He knew that his younger brother was very smart. These viruses were actually researched by his younger brother. If he had not created these things, had this terrible idea, and put it into practice, these things would never have happened. Mu Chen was sitting under the microscope in the laboratory, doing experiments. Zhang Xiaoxiao mixed several liquids together while no one was paying attention. Then he poured the liquid into the sewer and took the opportunity to release his own peach juice in the test tube. Although the dark green peach juice looks a bit scary, but Zhang Xiaoxiao felt at ease. She knows her stuff very well. This peach juice has the effect of quickly restoring organ function, of course, that is a certain amount. If it exceeds the prescribed amount, it will have a reverse effect and cause rapid decline of internal organs. These peach juices were produced in the spiritual spring, not the peaches that were harvested from her own peach tree. Until now, she had not dared to use them indiscriminately. But this time the peach juice she took out was concentrated. The so-called concentration is the essence. The peach juice in this small test tube was as much as 4 peaches. She didn't even have to think about the effect. Compared to the most powerful poison. Song Moding held the test tube in her hand with one hand. He knew what Zhang Xiaoxiao had in his hands. Once taken out, Zhang Xiaoxiao will never be able to leave Mu Xiaocheng for the rest of his life. As long as Mu Xiaocheng doesn't die, Zhang Xiaoxiao will be hunted down for the rest of his life. The strength on his wrist made Zhang Xiaoxiao aware of the anxiety in his heart. Song Moding only knew one thing about his peach, but he didn't know the other. Song Moding must be scared to death. Song Moding shook his head. He silently signaled Zhang Xiaoxiao to pour out the contents of the test tube. He had 10,000 ways to kill Mu Xiaocheng. He can risk his own life and never allow any accidents to happen to his wife. He doesn't need Zhang Xiaoxiao to take such a big risk. He knows what Zhang Xiaoxiao is going to do. This thing was taken out just to exchange for the child's hope of survival and to prove Zhang Xiaoxiao's worth. Unsurprisingly, Wu Weiguo did not appear. From the beginning, Wu Weiguo did not show any father-daughter affection for Zhang Xiaoxiao. It is simply impossible for Wu Weiguo to compromise at this time. Zhang Xiaoxiao and the child have lost their value, so Mu Xiaocheng will only delay for a few days at most. Once it is confirmed that there is no movement from Wu Weiguo, how could Song Moding not know what crazy move Mu Xiaocheng would do? It was nothing more than murder and silence. Zhang Xiaoxiao did this just to exchange this value for the hope that the child could survive. But he would never allow Zhang Xiaoxiao to do this. It was a silent contest between Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao. Mu Feng's entry broke the calm. End of this chapter.